Hello. Welcome to my very first podcast, which is currently nameless. Just because I haven't thought of one yet, and I'm still figuring out whether this is something I'll actually do. I don't like talking to camera, but of all the podcasts I watch, I prefer ones where you can see the person's face. So I figured I'd show mine, even though I'd much prefer not to. Anyhow, recording live from my bedroom. My underwear drawer's just behind me, so if this does go anywhere, I imagine I'll begin to work on some sort of set. So this is kind of budget, as you can see. Got the bed behind me, and I'm enjoying a Spates Old Dark. Not a terrible beer. Yes, so the origin of this podcast, well, actually, first I should explain, no expert when it comes to combat sports. My own experience is very limited. One corporate boxing match, which I won, but is ugly as hell due to the lack of technique and only 6 months of training. But, you know, some experience nonetheless, and insight into getting in there and trading with someone. But yeah, by no means an expert, but I've been watching for a long time, been a fan for a long time, and just started betting on fights, and I'm quite happy with my successes so far. You can check out my record on betmma.tips, Louis Nux. My first event I bet on isn't recorded, but I was up around 37% return on investment, and then the two UFC events since have both come in at 39% return on investment, so pretty happy with those. I did a stupid bet on a Bellator event, which is on my record there, which has brought down my averages, but I'm staying the fuck away from Bellator now. There's just those matchups, I don't like them. Like the UFC, there's plenty of research you can do on the fighters, and that's what I've been doing now. So I'm real confident in the bets I make at the moment. So yeah, not sure what I'll do with this podcast. Is it a podcast if you're videoing? I'm not sure, but keen to take questions. People can hit me up on my Twitter, which is Louis Nux DTD, Louis with an IE at the end, or find my Facebook page, Louis Nux, Instagram, same as the Twitter, Louis Nux DTD, or just pop questions in the comments on this video, and I'll answer them in the next video I do. Pretty keen to do some like wrap up videos, post an event and talk about what I've seen and any reads I might have made for future fights. But so this event coming up, UFC 224, not super gassed about it. There's always some good fights, good matchups, but I mean, when you look at the women's 135 division, and you got Nunes versus Raquel Pennington as your main event, and it's just not as exciting as it was a couple years ago when the belt kept switching hands, and like at the moment you got Nunes at the top. She's hardly been active. Pennington hasn't been active. I think it seems like a pretty foregone conclusion that Nunes will win this fight. So not that much excitement there. However, the co-main of Gastelum and Jacare is a exciting fight, and I stayed the fuck away from that one betting wise, because I don't really have a clue what's going to happen there. They've both looked good recently. Interesting stylistic matchup. I think Gastelum will obviously looked to keep it standing. No one wants to go to the ground with Jacare, but that also makes him a danger on the feet, and you saw what happened in his last fight. So yeah, so I just went through the card, looked at some, tried to pick out some fights where there might be some advantages and some good money to be made. And the first one that stuck out to me obviously was the Mackenzie Dern Amanda Cooper fight. So I remembered Dern's debut quite vividly, and I went back and watched it again, and yeah, it was a very amateurish debut. To be expected. She's not very experienced, obviously, but she's, you know, on the radar. Lots of people are watching her and excited about what she might do, but seems she can't get a fight to the ground, so doesn't get to use that jiu-jitsu. She did get, I actually thought she lost that fight. I can't remember specifically how, but pretty sure I thought she lost the first 2 rounds, and yeah, but she got the decision. She got her opponent down in the final round, got her back, but I think there was like about 1:30 left when Dern got her opponent down, and she wasn't able to get her out of there. She was, I imagine, pretty gassed by that stage, but still, with what you'd expect from her jiu-jitsu, being a world champion, you might have thought she would have got a submission there with 1:30 left, getting the opponent to the ground, but she didn't. So I went through and watched a bit of tape on Amanda Cooper, her opponent for this event, and not real, how would you put it, not supremely confident in Cooper, but her path to victory against Dern seems pretty straightforward. Dern only fought about 6 weeks or 2 months ago, so it's hard to imagine she has like mastered a good takedown in that time. So you could pretty much expect to see the same Mackenzie Dern in this fight. In the tape I watched on Cooper, when opponents get her against the cage, she fights for hooks. She seems pretty strong there. I think I did see her get taken down in some fights. She had decent defense on the ground, but obviously she'll look to keep this standing and use her boxing. Her boxing is pretty handy. She does, she tends to lean over her punches a little bit, which could be dangerous, could end up in the clinch there, but once again Dern showed in her fight that she's not able to drop down for a takedown from the clinch effectively. So yeah, I think Cooper should be fine keeping it standing. She looks like she's got decent power in her shots too, so Dern gets really aggressive on the feet and comes forward swinging. So I think if Cooper can catch her coming in with uppercut, right hook, her right hook looks pretty nice, she might be able to hurt Dern. I think that's going to be a big part of Cooper's game plan. She's going to need to hurt Dern, because Dern is like, she looks like she hits pretty hard and she just kind of lunges forward throwing wild winging shots, and if she can hurt her, she might be able to prevent her from doing that and then piece her up on the feet. So I put, what did I put? I put 4 units on Cooper, paying $3, so a big underdog. Not real confident in Cooper. She's not super experienced herself, but I mean, I definitely favor her to win the fight. Depends what the judges do again, because like I said, I thought Dern lost her last fight, and the judging there was a bit shonky, so we'll see what happens. I'm reasonably confident in that. Next fight I looked at was for a slight favorite, and excuse my pronunciation as well, Alizu Zaleski dos Santos versus Sean Strickland. So I went and watched some tape on these guys, and what I saw was Strickland's fights. He's tall, fights very tall, maybe too tall. Like, he has his head up very straight and doesn't have great head movement, so he's liable to get hit, I think. But he had nice hands, but he doesn't put anything into his punches. Like, he doesn't commit to his strikes at all. I watched 2 fights and it was the same. I watched one and I was like, oh, maybe it's just this particular matchup he's not committing. But watched another one and it was the same deal. So he's got nice crisp striking, but there's just nothing on it. And I think a guy like Dos Santos, who looks like he likes to mix it up and pressure his opponents and wade through offense, I think he will do that against Strickland, and like, Strickland's shots aren't really going to bother him. Just looking at my notes here. Yeah, Strickland just doesn't look to have any finishing instinct and doesn't respond well to pressure, and Dos Santos loves to heap on pressure. Yeah, I think it will stay standing. Dos Santos has a nasty leg kick, and because Strickland favors his boxing, he plants that front leg, so I expect that to get eaten up early on while they're feeling each other out, and then later on in the fight, expect Dos Santos to get into boxing range, crowd him, pressure him, and quite possibly get a knockout. So I've put 5 units on Dos Santos there to win. He's paying 172, so really confident in that pick. But, you know, fuck knows what will happen on fight night. Next fight, Davi Ramos versus Nick Hein. So, several reasons not to bet on Nick Hein. He seems pretty injury prone. Looks quite stiff striking. He's a physical specimen. Looks strong, but doesn't have very fluent striking. Other reason is also he's a cop. I dealt with police in Germany and they were pretty wild, so I hold a bit of a grudge there. So no money on Nick Hein. I think so Hein is the underdog. Davi Ramos is paying 172 again. So shit, I can't really remember what I saw in the tape here, but Ramos likes to counter. He's got fast hands. I think he looks a lot faster than Hein. Hein's getting old. He hasn't fought for a couple of years. He's pulled out of 2 of his UFC fights due to injury. So don't know how well he is physically. Ramos is I think a BJJ world champion. Heaps of competitive BJJ experience. So if it goes to the ground, I think he'll be all good there. Yeah, Hein like leaps in with a lot of his strikes, and I think Ramos might be able to counter him as he does that. And once again, I think this will stay standing because Hein won't want to go to the ground, and I think Ramos will have much superior striking to him. So unless Hein gets hurt and starts throwing desperation shots, then probably stays standing, and Ramos, don't know what Hein's chin's like, but yeah, he might get TKO'd in this fight. So those are my picks for this event, just the 3 picks. I was looking really closely at what is the fight? Alberto Mina versus Ramazan Emeev, the Russian. There's not much tape on Ramazan, but what I did saw was his UFC debut against Sam Alvey, which was fought at 185. This fight on 224 is fought at 170. So I don't know where Ramazan usually fights, but he didn't look real small at 185. So I suspect he's coming down, dropping weight. And that fight with Alvey was atrocious. Sam Alvey didn't look like himself, and you know he's a pretty one-dimensional guy. You know, he throws power and goes for the knockout, and he was barely throwing. I think he had like, by the end of the second round, he had landed like 6 significant strikes or something, and Ramazan had landed 30 odd, but still wasn't really going after him. Could be due to the fact that, so Alvey's middleweight, light heavy I think. So he'd come down. So there was a bit of a size difference there, so perhaps that's why Ramazan was tentative with his striking, not really going after the finish when it looked like he could have got it. He hurt Alvey a couple of times, but once again, don't like that guys without any kind of killer instinct, finishing instinct. So I was dodgy on Ramazan, and then I watched Alberto Mina, and his last 2 fights have both been against 40-year-olds. Not terrible 40-year-olds. His last fight, he got a real good win over Mike Powell. Beat the shit out of Mike Powell, actually. And Mike Powell didn't look bad for a 40-year-old. Like, he's still reasonably sharp. And then, so I was really confident after watching that one, but then I went back and watched his last fight, which was against Sexyama. And Sexyama ate him up with leg kicks. He got the win, hurt Sexyama a few times, and Mina looks like he's good during adversity. Like, he keeps a cool head and he still attacks and doesn't shell up. But yeah, there was some concerns raised in that fight. He is undefeated, not super active. I think he's had like 13 fights over the space of 12 years or something. He coaches as well, but he's not young himself. I think he's like 34, 35 now, so a little bit concerned there. I still might place maybe like 3 units on that fight on Mina. I just haven't decided yet. So, but he's paying, and Mina's paying good money on that. I need to check what he's paying. He's paying $2.75. So I don't know. I'm tempted, but yeah, if I do decide to place a bet on that, you can see it on my Bet MMA tips profile. So yeah, those are my bets. Other points of interest on that card, I don't know if there really are any for me. I saw a lot of people betting Fajeda versus Robertson, but I don't know. I watched tape on Robertson and he looks like a real athlete, pretty fresh new guy. Not comfortable betting against the guy who looks that dynamic, and we're not really sure what he can do as of yet. Just checking the card. Yeah, not too much else of interest. The ghost of Vitor Belfort fighting the ghost of Lyoto Machida. I don't know. Good fight for a Brazilian card, I guess, but not that interesting these days. So yeah, those are my picks. If you follow my picks and make some money, please let me know. I'll be stoked to hear about that. Obviously what I want to do is get a good record and then figure out a way to make money off my picks, like possibly getting people to pay or figuring something out anyhow. But at the moment the picks are free, so go hard, and if you do use them and make some money, show me. Like, I'm confident going into this event. I reckon, like, I've gone on 2 dogs there, but I'm quite confident they're going to come through. So yeah. Oh no, I've only gone on the one dog. I might go on the two with the Alberto Mina pick, but we'll see. Fights on tomorrow. Bellator 198. They've fucking rolled out the 40-year-olds again. Actually, I don't think Fedor is 40, but he fights like he is now. Versus Frank Mir. Not that interesting. Once again, I stayed away from this card. Like, hugely mismatched fights. The odds aren't doing shit unless you want to pick underdogs who are most likely going to get their ass kicked. Most of the fights seem like foregone conclusions, apart from the Fedor and Mir fight, and I don't want to go anywhere near that. Like, Mir's been inactive, Fedor hasn't looked great, got knocked out by Mitrione, so no point going there for me. But I will watch. Interested to see what Dylan Dennis does in his MMA debut. He's fighting a bit of a can, obviously, but see if he can actually strike will be interesting to see. But you'd have to imagine he gets that fight to the ground as soon as he can and gets a sub, so won't be surprised if that happens. So yeah, that's my picks for the upcoming UFC event. We've still got a couple weeks, so fuck, I'm gonna be bored in the meantime, but yeah. So like I said before, if you got any questions, send them to my Twitter, post them in the comments on this video, or yeah, or just keep them to yourself, whatever. But it'd be cool to do some Q&A shit, any MMA topics or closely related to MMA topics. Yeah, so let's get some fucking money at this next event, and once again, let me know if I help you win, because that'd be choice.